here for Chronicles of Drunagor. This is the 1.5 version. I'm going to be going through, I don't know how much of the campaign I'm actually going to make it through on this channel, but I do want to try to do a little bit more because not much has been done, especially since the Kickstarter, like 2 years ago. And so I really want to do a good amount of playthroughs, but we'll kind of see how it goes because, right, I've got a lot on my plate, trying to do a lot of different things. So we'll see how much I actually get through. But so today what I'm going to be setting up is chapter 2 of the campaign, if I can find it here. Because I already did chapter 1 basically through doing the Start Here guide. I did that playthrough once. It was just with Vorn as a single player character, but I am going to play with 2 characters, I think, and I'm going to set up for chapter 2 here, which actually is not, that's the setup. So it's not a whole lot going on, but I'm going to go ahead and kind of get everything set up and kind of ready to go, and then we'll kind of go through who I want to actually play when I get started here. So Chronicles of Drunagor actually was the very first one that I backed. It was the first campaign, well, not even a campaign game, but just any game at all that I backed on Kickstarter. And pretty much fell in love with the game right away. I don't like those. All right. Sorry. So anyways, I backed it, but then it was obviously going to be forever till I got here. And then Andreas, he was a big fan, but now, he's still a big fan, but now he actually works with CGS, the creators of Chronicles of Drunagor. And anyways, he made a TTS version, which then I learned how to play TTS because I wanted to play this game. And then I just kind of played more and more and more, and I actually got really into it. And I actually found some, what do you want to call it, little, some files. It was a Dropbox. I can't find that Dropbox now to this day, but there was some Dropbox that had pretty much everything. It was like on one of the Kickstarter updates or something. So it wasn't like I snuck around and found it. It was something in general that was already out there. But when I found it, it had everything on there. So I just uploaded that stuff and just played with me and my friends. Friend Eric. But and I played the entire campaign on TTS, plus some, because we would always do a lot other different stuff, right? And anyways, fell in love with it, started this YouTube channel where I created a lot of TTS versions of Chronicles of Drunagor, which you could go see on my channel here. My first 12 videos on my YouTube channel were Chronicles of Drunagor because it's awesome, and TTS was awesome, right? The fact that you could play on a computer, because the best thing about it all is I was actually deployed, right? I was overseas when I started making videos because I could actually make videos on my computer. I didn't have to have this big, huge game on my table that, I definitely didn't take that on my deployment, right? But I bought a gaming computer for that deployment because I wanted to game on my computer. But it actually was very beneficial because then I could actually start a YouTube channel that ran TTS much, much better than my old one did, that's for sure. And so anyways, started that YouTube channel playing Chronicles of Drunagor on TTS. And then I need to make a video about my whole story because I was deployed, right? I'm a physical therapist in the military. So my room that we were in, right, it was a room, 20 foot by, we had 2 beds, so 20 by 12 maybe. And that 20 by 12 room, we had, when I was first, there was only 2 of us, which was great. But most of those rooms were, yes, that is a very insane box, Bobby. And this is just one of them. You've got more of the expansions. That's got more in there. And then you have another expansion. That's another one. This game is a lot. And by a lot, I mean a lot of awesomeness. But right, so these rooms, we ended up having 6 of them before I left. 6 people in this one room, right? So I had like my bed, and then probably about 3 feet, and then a wall, which was actually the back side of the. Yeah, good lord. This, and actually, there's a couple other smaller boxes and stuff. But now, wait, Bobby, if you're still watching, this miniature, if you want to call it a miniature, goes to this game. Look at this thing. It's bigger than my head. Plus, oh, Gloomhaven box is gigantic, but it doesn't have expansions like this stuff, right? And Aeon Trespass, it's just the expansions, I think. Because this is just the core box. So if you just have this, right, much smaller than Gloomhaven or Aeon's Trespass for sure. But when you get all the expansions there, anyways, but isn't this crazy? Like, it's bigger than my head. Look how freaking long it is. And it's got a lady riding on top of it. It's so big that they have to actually put this post because it's actually got some good weight to it. Anyways, so I just keep it up here. One day, I'm going to get it painted. One of these days. Anyways, right? It's super dope. It made me happy when I got it. Because I mean, so just those four little miniatures came in this size box for 4 miniatures. Well, miniatures, or what you want to call like giganticers. Right? Because you can't be mini when it's bigger than my head. But so, right, room was like nothing. Was barely fit my bed in there. The foot of my bed was up against my locker. And then I had like a 3-foot space and then like another backside of the locker. So I had like no space in my actual room. Ooh, shipping. I think it ended up being like 90. No, it was 76 bucks. But that was for the base game with a couple expansions. But because I did all those videos, CGS actually sent me a couple things for free. Basically, they're like, hey, everything I didn't back, they added, which was just a handful of things. So it wasn't shipping for everything because I didn't do the all-in, but plus free, right? 76. Well, that's my first one, but that's neither here nor there. Resident Evil. No, I had not tried that one. I've heard really good things. I mean, I've heard a lot from Alex at Board Game Co. that he does a lot. Oh, that was one of his favorite ones, Resident Evil 3 specifically. So I heard a lot of good things, but I haven't actually played it myself. Nor do I have it. What did I order? No wonder the shipping was 70. Oh, did you back this game? Who was that? Yeah. A Halo. But yeah. I mean, shipping nowadays is just incredibly too much anyways. Let alone you get these games that are shipping, 50, 60 pounds of game, which is not cheap in the first place, let alone how it is nowadays. Oh, yes. Rogue Angels. Oh my gosh. That is a game that I fell in love with. So I received that's just the prototype, right? And if you see my channel, I actually did a whole playthrough of chapter 1 because when I got it, I was like, cool. It was a dungeon crawler. I love dungeon crawlers, right? It was space thing, which was different. That's what really got me into it. And I like a lot of character building. So that's what got me into wanting to do a review video for that. And then I got it and I played a couple with, because I played a couple times before I actually do the review, right? You got to play it. Anyways, so I was playing with my friend and my brother-in-law who's never played, and he ended up loving the game. I played with a couple other people. Anyways, and then I played it and I was like, I want to keep playing this game. But I love solo. I really do like solo playing. However, sometimes I like playing solo way more when I do it for my YouTube channel. Because when I'm talking to the camera, even though like when I'm doing the recording, I'm really not talking to anyone. But because in my mind, someone's going to be listening, I feel like I'm not talking to myself, even though I really am, right? But anyway, so I was like, I don't want to play the entire first chapter, and I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel just because I want to, right? So like I was not asked to do that. He did not know that I was going to do that, but I did because it's great. The best thing about the game, because I played it with my friend Eric, and one thing that he fell in love with as well is how easy it is to set up and how much little table space it takes, right? Because you've got games like Chronicles of Junagor, which is going to take up this entire table, especially when I'm going to try to record, like moving everything over. It's going to take up this whole table, which is like a dining room table, 6 foot by 3 foot, right? It's going to take up the whole space. But that game took up like, maybe half to a quarter of it, maybe. And super easy to set up, but it still has that big in depth. It's not like, well, doesn't take up as much space, but it's a much lighter game as well. It's a great game. Anyway, fell in love with it and super excited about that. No, I didn't back it. Was too late, but order it now. So they all in for the base game, not Apocalypse. Okay, awesome. I mean, I think that's a smart way to go actually with Chronicles of Junagor if you're not getting Apocalypse. Because the initial base game with the expansion is a lot of content. I mean, there's 18 chapters just in the base game, and then you get Apocalypse, and that adds another 17. And then you have the Backers campaign, which is called the Awakenings, which has another 9 campaigns or 9 scenarios. And then you've got 1, 2, 3. Then you have 4 more small box expansions, which 2 of them have 3 scenarios and the other 2 have 4 scenarios, or maybe it's 2 scenarios and 3. Anyway, so you have like another 12 scenarios with those expansions. So all in, you've got like 40 or 50 scenarios. So if you just went all in on the base, perfect place to start. And then if you love it, you could jump into Apocalypse because they will have that on their store most likely. But yeah, and shipping is going to be crazy. Oh, Tainted Grail. In the mail, once we're done with Frost, we're going to start that with Kingdom Forlorn if it comes in time. Yeah. So I passed on Tainted Grail, and I kick myself for it. That I see people getting it now. I'm like, I should have gotten it. It looks super interesting. The first one, the Tainted Grails, oh no, I can't think of, but the first one that came out, not the Kings of Ruin, but the Falls of Avalon. That it looked interesting, but hearing how grindy it was, and it looked okay on paper. Looking at it, I was like, yeah, it looks interesting, but not really. But then Kings of Ruin came out and how they fixed everything and changed everything. I was like, it put me right there on the edge, but I didn't do it. Mid-April. It's not supposed to come till mid-April. Are you talking about Kingdoms Forlorn or Tainted Grails? Halo. Honestly, after playing Frost, setup filliness is a big thing for me. Love Frost, but all the setup and pieces is driving me nuts. Right? I have not. I have Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. I haven't played the big box Gloomhaven, but I haven't heard much greatness about that fiddliness because there's so many little pieces, which I've loved Jaws of the Lion because it gets rid of a lot of that. We'll see if it was an impulse buy. I never played it, so fingers crossed. Right? How often does that happen? That's kind of sad. That's like, it really is a lot of money and stuff, but impulse buys is such a real thing. And then afterwards, you're like, oh snap, what did I just get myself into? I'm in the EU, the whole shipping. Gotcha. Yeah. And I was just watching a video this morning by, I can't think of, Game Brigade. And he was kind of talking about that VAT and the EU. And man, that's hard. What are you guys' thoughts, you that are in the EU? What are you guys' thoughts on that VAT? Because that's got to make it hard. Games are expensive as they are already, let alone if you got to do even more stuff. It was menace that he didn't make the Frost. Right? Like if you already made Jaws of the Lion, that was so much easier to get to the table. Why revert back to Jaws of the, or to the normal Gloomhaven when with all that fiddliness, right? That is a good question, actually. Maybe we should ask, or what do you, what's the other one? Crimson Scales. That one looks I mean, that's actually just impressive. The fact that fans made a whole expansion that looks just as big for a game. Like, that's pretty darn legit. I want to show these off real quick. So I have like speed paints. I don't know if you know, you can't really see it. They're just off. I have some speed paints that I've like, so I've painted everything in Chronicles of Junagor. And so, right, they're not the best. They're not like the greatest, but man, having painted miniatures over non-painted miniatures, I love. Like, it's great, right? But you got that little skeleton archer there. This is Voin. This is who I played the first playthrough with, which I'll probably add different heroes onto my next one here. Then you have this guy, the Undead King. He's pretty fun. I like this guy. All the skulls all over the place. It's a bit strange buying things the American way, but paying VAT at checkout. But it's not that different to what I'm used to. Yeah. $100 into organizing maps, etc. Right? The organization, that was one thing that killed me. My first experience was actually Madara. I bought Madara, and it has thousands and thousands of cards in there, but 0 places to put them. I'm like, really? Cards? Like, cards are going to get all over the place. You don't even have like a good little section to put them in. They were like, and then like nothing else. It was crazy. I ended up buying myself a 3D printer, actually. Bought myself a 3D printer and I've 3D printed a lot of organization stuff for Madara and for some of these other games because, yeah, that could get just as expensive. But yeah, that's. I always think about being in the EU and shipping's incredibly expensive, and then VAT's like another 17 or 20% on top of that. Yeah, move to the US to enable your board game addiction, right, Bobby? Sacrifices. And if you move here, I want you to tell everyone that's the reason. Like, oh, what brought you to the States? Like, oh, board games. I just wanted them cheaper. Because that's how the world works, right? But so, has anybody ever played Chronicles of Junagor yet? Because I'm still looking at who I want to be, which heroes I want to be. I don't know yet because I have played almost all the heroes. There's like 2 or 3 that I myself haven't played, but my friends played a lot, so I've seen them played. Anyways, there's really not like a horrible character. Right? Finish the free studies before you have to come pay an arm and a leg for education. That is for sure. I lucked out with my education because I'm in the military. So most of my education was actually paid for, at least my undergrad. My grad school ended up getting a scholarship, so I didn't have to. So I only paid for like half of it. But grad school is way more expensive, so even paying half of it was still really expensive. And I lucked out hardcore getting a scholarship for grad school. But yeah, this chapter that I'm setting up, boom, that's the chapter set up. Not a whole lot going on this first one here, right? You've just got that little boop set up there. But I like this. I wish board games, it kind of tells you, okay, hey, if this is your table space, this is where you need to set up the initial spot because it's going to grow in that direction, right? So you can kind of prep your table space for later on into the scenario, which I think is actually kind of cool. That was something they added to the 1.5 actually. But is Chronicles your go-to campaign game? Playing all that you have, hating the organization, feelingness. What's a good, easy to set up campaign game? Right now we're binging Too Many Bones on our off weeks. Ooh, Too Many Bones. I tried the TTS version of that because it's really expensive, but I really want to try it because I've only heard good things about it. But the TTS was a little fiddly, and I don't do as good learning how to play games on TTS versus not. Anyway, so I tried it, but I don't think I only did one scenario. But I really like that dice building aspect. As for Chronicles being my go-to campaign game, so yes and no. It is by far my favorite game. I think it's because I kind of started. This is what brought me into the board game. This was the first like big board game that I actually backed on Kickstarter. So I don't know, it has that special spot in my heart, right? Because this is what main thing that brought me into these big in-depth games. And but the setup for this can be. It's not one of the fiddly. It's not near as bad as Gloomhaven, but there's definitely a lot going on. I was going to say another one that I'm actually been loving lately is Massive Darkness 2, but its setup is, it's not as big going around here, but there's just a lot of tokens on the board. So that's a little bit fiddly as well. One that's not as fiddly is Deliverance. However, it is a religious game, so if that's not your vibe, I understand. But Deliverance, I actually really like. It has a campaign to it, but it's a little bit more of a skirmish game than a dungeon crawler, right? Because you pretty much have it set up and you just dance around that board rather than like exploring through it. But Deliverance isn't near as bad of a setup as all of this. So that's one thing that I would say for that one. You know, it's funny, even though Europe is known for their free studies, I'm still paying $400 a year for it. That's not really comparable. Wait, how do you pay $400 a year? Is that like extra like fees and books and stuff like that? But 400 euros a year is, yeah, comparatively, it's nothing. But when you're like, oh, it's free education, then you're like, oh, just kidding. But we need $400. Yeah, I could understand that frustration for sure. Really expensive. Proceeds to show off 4 mega boxes at 76. Touche, Bobby. Touche. Man, $100 or what? Yeah, because the base game of Too Many Bones is what, like $100 if you get like Unbreakable or something, maybe 150. And and then I'm like, yeah, that's too expensive. I'm just gonna buy this $500 game with all the expansions, you know. That's funny. No, just studies, but there are things inside like library access, public transport. Ah, oh, interesting. Yeah, no, I can understand that. People saying it's free, like, oh, it's free, but there's still money coming out of my pocket every month to make it free, right? Yeah, no, I get that. I still appreciate that call out for priorities. I love it. Also, I believe 100 for the canteen. What is a canteen? In America, a canteen is like a little water bottle. That's what we have in the military. We have canteens that we take. What is a canteen in Europe? But yeah, also, I 3D printed one of these. So this is the health tracker. And this is the way that you could put it, right? They don't slide, which is really nice in theory. But it doesn't stick together. They come apart way too easy. So I ended up getting the, what do you want to call it? The double-layered board from the campaign. I thought these would be good, so I didn't at first. And then I was like, well, might as well, because I don't really like these very much. My kid's calling me, so I will be right back. Hey, you want to come say hi? Yeah. I just had my kid wake up. Look. Say hello. Look at the phone. Say hi. Do you see yourself? Oh, you don't want to say hi anymore? Okay. Hey, go play. Baba's not here anymore, I don't think, bud. All right. He's just waking up for a nap. But you go there and buy food and eat there inside. Ah, okay. So, so like I guess in that type of canteen, that makes sense. Like a chow hall. That's like the military. You want what, bud? You could have a snack right there. That makes sense to have like a little cafeteria. There you go. That's what we call it, the cafeteria. And where you could go there, buy drinks, eat food, and whatnot. But let's see here. I need. I don't know. I've been talking back and forth now. I don't know where I put everything. Yeah, cafeteria. Yeah. My English is not great, even though I was born and raised in America. My memory of everything is not the greatest. Here we go. Couldn't find the initiative track to set that up. Also, this is actually one thing that I really like. If you have this, 3D print one of these things right here. And because the 3D of the initiative track comes in two pieces and it connects together there, which is nice. But when you move it around, it still has the potential of moving out. So this thing here just clips them right together and works so much better. That was one thing I would definitely suggest. There, just on Thingiverse, if you have a 3D printer at least, you can put it or print it out because that is very handy. But yeah, I think one of these days I'm gonna make a video of kind of my upbringing, not my upbringing, my experience with YouTube and where it has come from and where I'm trying to go with it. Right? I don't know if you were here talking about it before, but I actually started my YouTube channel while I was deployed and overseas, and right, because we had you go to work, and then when you're done, usually at home when I'm done, I come home and I have family and I do stuff. When you're deployed, you get done and you're like, well, now I ain't got nothing to do. So what did I do? I played board games and started a YouTube channel. How much is your 3D printer? Thought about getting one for the hobby, but can't justify the cost. Yeah. So I got a 3D printer. It was a really cheap one. I actually got it used, so I got it for like $200, which came with like 4 or 5 spools of filament, and it is definitely a cheaper one. Well, I'll print like 5, 6 things without a problem, and then for the next like 10, I can't get anything to print. Something's messed up. I have to unclog. I have to change stuff. So it's definitely a cheaper one for sure. I missed yours, Alo. Also for the character, how about the Black Knight expansion one? I am very interested in him if you have him. It's funny that you say that because that is the one that I don't have, and that that they are sending me. Like I said, because I've done a lot of videos for them, they said basically, thank you. What don't you have? And that was one of the small things I didn't have. However, I did play him as on the TTS. So I have played him. I just don't have him. And so he was actually not too bad. The one that I have a problem with the Shadow Knight is Devron. And he comes in the base game. Well, in the stretch goals box. Because with the Shadow Lord, Lord Wrath, his special ability, right, is however many curse cubes you have, that's what X equals. And so he's got like a plus X hit. So if you have 3 cubes, you get a plus 3 to your hit, which is great. It's a fun little balance, right? Because curse cubes are bad. If you get 6 curse cubes, you lose, you're dead. And so curse cubes, so that's the fun balance, right? Is like, okay, the more curse cubes I have is actually more powerful, but I have to balance that. So I do like Lord Wrath for that. But so what I'm saying is don't base the idea of Devron, who's the Shadow Knight, he's got the dragon. That one is really cool. I like that he has the dragon, but Devron's, because he's got the same ability that however many curse cubes he has, that's plus X. But on his entire board, he has 2 abilities that actually say plus X. So it's like he has a special ability, but he hardly ever uses it. So Devron's special thing is more of the dragon than that plus that getting plus X for his curse cubes. Lord of Wrath definitely does that a lot better. So that's what I say about him. If you like dancing that line of like, oh, I could get a +5 to this damage, but if I get 1 more curse cube, I'm dead, right? So if you like that balance, I definitely suggest him. If you're one that just wants to be powerful straight off the bat and don't have to dance that line, then maybe not. 3D printers start from 100, but I could recommend. Yep, that's actually the one I have is Ender. I have the Ender 3 Pro, I think, and but it was used, and so maybe that's why mine's all messed up. But I have a very strong love-hate relationship with my 3D printer because of that. Because sometimes it'll be great. I'll be printing all these things with no hiccups, and then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, just kidding. I don't want to work anymore. Oh, hey, what's up, Alarine? Alarine? Is that how you say that? I see you comment on my videos a lot. Hey, and Steve, what's up? I've been digging acrylic standees. Oh, yeah. An Uprising Curse of the Last Emperor. Nice alternative to keep the box storage low while having a great look and quality, right? So my first acrylic standees was Deliverance. Once again, religious game. So if you don't want that, then don't do it. But as a game itself is great. But those acrylic standees, that was the first time I had those. Oh, like it's the perfect balance, I think, between cardboard, which is like they're nice because you don't have to sit there and paint all of them, but they're not as cool as minis. Where acrylic is like, well, it's not as bad as cardboard. It's not as nice as minis, but it's definitely better than unpainted minis. So I actually agree with that. Acrylic standees, but I've heard that in like production value wise, or not value, but production cost, they're actually the same as minis, which is kind of sad because that would be like, oh, it's a perfect in between, so it's cheaper, but it's like, it seems like it's just as expensive. And so between the two, it's kind of a toss up of what I would rather, because I do love miniatures, absolutely love them, but that's just a lot to paint. Where acrylic standees at least gives you a nicer look without having to paint. Would be welcome to options. Make some games a bit more accessible. Yes, I think if you're talking about like the 3D printer, I think organization makes everything so much easier. If you could just pull out 1 or 2 things and have everything you need just right there, rather than like right now. I mean, if you look here, whoops, as I tip everything over, right? Like I just have everything like stacked in like 15 different piles right now as I try to organize this all, which is very difficult, right? Sorry, that kind of bounced my thing. That hole in my phone's not very steady. Where I just want to be able to like, okay, I just need this stuff, so I'm pulling out to set up, and I don't need to pull out 3 or 4 different boxes just to set up one thing. Yeah, James Hudson says acrylic standees and minis are about the same cost. Yeah, but I prefer standees. Don't need to paint them to look great, right? That's the thing. But my other thing is I love painted miniatures. Like seeing that on the board and stuff, like, oh, I love it. And that's my problem, because doing this takes way too long. It probably took me 6 months to paint everything in this game, and I haven't even started on Apocalypse, which has just as many as the base game, right? But yeah, I'm so hard in between. Yeah, right now I'm using fish tackle boxes. I feel like a hillbilly. That's legit. Well, that's actually not too bad, because you could just like open up and go whoop, and you've got all the levels right there. Actually, that's not a bad idea. It might be hillbilly-ish, but that's kind of cool. All right. So I'm to the character choosing part here. I'm not sure what I want to do here. I mean, look at all these. Like these, and this is just the base game, right? This is not including the new characters, because I do have the box of new characters, but I want to save those for because I'm going to play through the Awakening and through Apocalypse at some point on my channel. So I kind of want to save those for that. So I do want to play with base game characters. But anyways, there's 27 characters. And it's like, well, how am I supposed to pick 2 of them? But minis are so great, and you have 2 hobbies in one, right? And actually, you could even do 3 hobbies in one, right? With the 3D printer, because a lot of my organization stuff I've done my own, like, so I'll figure it out on my computer and then print it. So I have the 3D printing, and then I have board gaming YouTube stuff, and then I have painting miniatures, right? So I'm like, this one hobby has given me like 3 different hobbies now. It hurts if you have the rules that I have to paint, right? And Moy MD2 is sitting up on the shelf, right? That's the hardest thing. Is like, well, because they look so much better on the table when they're painted, right? And but it makes it so much harder when you have that rule, right? Especially Massive Darkness 2. There's so many miniatures. If you want to paint all the minions and everything, like that is a lot to paint. I just have the base game. I didn't get like all the Kickstarter stuff. And that's still a lot to paint, let alone like the extra 50, 60 miniatures from the Kickstarter exclusives. Crazy. Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship, that's for sure. Get rid of that rule, to be honest. If you want to play it, it's just play it honestly, right? That's one thing, being in the board game world. It's so interesting how important table aesthetics is, even though it has nothing to do with gameplay. Absolutely nothing. Yet the way it looks on your table can make your experience different. It's just a very interesting thing, because I've thought about like with my wife. Sometimes I'm like, I feel like she would love this game, the aspects of it, but the theme is not there, so she would like it less, right? So like, why is theme and aesthetics so important when it has nothing to do with gameplay? It doesn't change. It shouldn't change your experience, yet it does. 100% does. Interesting. I don't know. There are some people that say that they could care less about theme and it is more about game mechanics and playing stuff. But sometimes when you just have this big miniature, but wait. Not only do you have that big miniature, and I'm looking around here for what I want to get, there is something about when you've got this big miniature fighting against this guy. Right? Like, hiya, right? But isn't that so awesome? Like, you got a little Fabian here that's like gonna take on this dragon. He has to climb up there, and even if he climbs up top, he still can't reach him. There's just something about table aesthetics, which is a thing. It just is a thing. I don't know why. Yeah, love-hate relationship. That's right. Yeah, I know how to choose which character you play. Roll a 1d20, and on 20, you roll a d8 for the last 8. Ooh, so I assign them numbers? Okay, I like that. Let me set them out here. Or, oh, wait. Yeah. So this is what I'm going to do. All right. So I'm going to just take these and shuffle them. One thing I haven't done, actually, is every single one of these characters actually has a backstory and everything. I have not. I've read a handful of them, but not really. Like, I don't know them. All right. So let's go ahead and get all these shuffled here. However, yeah, so basically what I'm going to do with my playthroughs, depending on how much I do, is I'm going to do a couple playthroughs with some characters, and then I plan on switching in the middle just to get more like showing characters. when I tell people I'm into board games, they think Catan Monopoly. Right after you try to explain it and show the minis, they assume you're D&D action figure collecting. I swear I'm normal. Well, that last part, I don't know if we're normal. Are we normal? But yes, that is very, very accurate. Trying to explain board games is not an easy thing. Yeah, you could come out. And right, and people are like, oh, like Catan, and I'm like, yes, Catan, but times that by like 10, right? Because of the complexity. I did break the rule with Master of Darkness 2 for a few missions, to be honest, but it's back in the queue, primed and ready for painting. Yep, that sounds about right. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. Let's get this. I'm just grabbing my dice box here. I actually have my Master of Darkness 2 set up over here. So I have the box over there. Yeah, you can get a snack. Go get a snack. Okay. Sorry, my 2-year-old just woke up from his nap again. Board games. So you play Monopoly on a weekly basis? That's what I'm hearing. I'm perfectly normal. The voices in my head agree with that, except for the voice that is wearing the sombrero. I love it, Steve. That's funny. I punish myself by playing it. I'm up for a Drunagor painting stream if you'll ever plan a thing. I still have unpainted, right? So my thing is, I actually tried that. So I don't know if you guys ever see Meet Me at the Table. I know Steve have. That's where I know Steve from. But Barrett does some painting, and he had one just last night, 2 nights ago. And I actually asked him about his setup, Barrett's setup, because I want to actually try to do some of that painting videos, whether they be live or whether they be like video on demand. I haven't decided yet, but that is definitely something that I want to definitely look into. I say, as if buying the stretch goals box on a secondary market wasn't a punishment enough. Oh, yeah, stretch goals stuff on the second market. No, that's not going to happen. That's punishment, very much so enough. All right, so here we go. So I have all these shuffled. We're going to do a D20, and then we'll go through with that number. We got a 4, if you could see that. I don't know. Yep, there you go. I got a 4. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh, I'm actually totally okay with that. I mean, I love all of them. But so we got Shadow. We got Shadow for our first character. So, you know what actually I'm going to do instead of doing a D8, right? Because that takes out all these other ones. I'm going to do another D20, but I'm going to start from the back and count up. That's what I'm going to do. So my first character is going to be Shadow, the free assassin. And then, so this we're going to go from the back. Oh, there we go. Oh, I feel like I'm cheating. Am I cheating? Maybe I'll roll it again. It was a natural 20, but then I kept moving it because I was trying to show the camera, so maybe that's cheating. So I'll roll it again. All right, there we go. I got 17. I don't know if you could see that. Boom. Okay, I got 17. Oh, that's backwards. Anyways, so instead of going from the front, we're going to go from the back here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And we got Jaheen, the human cleric. All right. Thank you. Who was that? Was that? I saw it. Thanks. Saw the cheating or saw the natural 20? The main issue I have with being a board game player is that I have too many games and not enough time to play. Agreed. And actually, I'm doing a review for a game bag. So I have a handful of games actually over in the game bag to do a review on it. But that was fun. I like that, rolling the D20 for that. So we got Shadow and Jaheen. We got Assassin and a Cleric. I like that mix up there. So we are going to get that set up here. And hopefully in the next day or so, I'll get this playthrough actually videoed. And then it'll be up on my channel, hopefully by the end of the week. But But yeah, I think that is everything. Especially when your old World of Warcraft group calls, right? Like I can't play World of Warcraft. I got games to play now, but I can't play all the games because I got other games to play. Good thing I just started collecting. Have 3 games at home and 1 is currently being played. ISS Vanguard. That one looks actually pretty interesting. Another one of those big box games. We get banned soon, so I can get back to painting. Right? You've got to get like what we were just talking about. There's so many hobbies in one hobby that there's how do you have time for all those hobbies? And then you got a family. Like, yeah, I'm never getting these games played, but they look pretty on my shelf. All right, I'm gonna end it there. I've got this ready to do some playthroughs, and my kids are waking up, so I got to go be a parent now. But thank you for all joining. That was actually a lot of fun. I like the idea of just kind of sitting here, setting up and talking to people instead of just sitting here and talking to myself. So I appreciate all of you guys being here, and I will see you later.